Hello, I am Alfredo Hernandez-Garcia, aka The Sauce, and this is my first student video. So for this first question, I have to find the volume of this shape using the disk washer method. And so the functions that make up my shape, I have y equals x and y equals 2 square root of x, and it's rotated about the x-axis. To start with, I'm going to find my intersections. And to do that, I set both equations equal to each other. And so I have to divide both sides by 2 and then square both sides, then subtract by x. I have to factor out an x in order to get my factors and set them each equal to 0 to get my solutions. And so I got x equals 0 and x equals 4. Here's a little graph to show how my functions interact with each other. And so I see they intersect at 0 and 4, and we're going to rotate that region across the x-axis, and we have to find the volume of that shape. And this is the formula that we'll use. And so to show the work, my volume will equal to the integral from 0 to 4 of pi times the outer radius function squared minus the inner radius function squared. And so my outer radius function is 2 square root of x, and my inner radius function is x. And squaring both of these and subtracting them, I get 4x minus x squared. And so integrating this equation right here, I have basically 4 over 2, which turns into 2, times x to the power of 1 plus 1, which is x squared, minus I have x to the power of 2 plus 1, which is 3, over 2 plus 1, which is also 3. And I have to solve this from 0 to 4. And so 0 is basically negligible since it doesn't really do nothing. It just gives me 0. And so I'm really just solving it for 4. And so pi times 2 times 4 squared minus 4 cubed over 3. I ended up getting pi times 2 times 16 minus 64 over 3. Or pi times 32 minus 64 over 3. At the end, I end up getting the volume is equal to 32 pi over 3 units cubed. Now for the second question, I have to find the volume of a different shape using the shell method. Now the functions that make up my region, I have y equals the square root of x and y equals 2 minus x. And also y equals 0, which is just my my x-axis. I have to find the volume as it rotates about the x-axis. Since I'm using shell method, I have to keep in mind, since it's rotated around the x-axis, I have to integrate in respect to y. And so to do that, I have to set my functions in terms of y. And so I have x is equal to y squared because I just had to square both sides to get y. And for this one, I had x is equal to 2 minus y because I just added 1 to both sides and then subtracted y. And so to find my intersections, I set my original functions in terms of x equal to each other. So I square both sides. X is equal to 2 minus x squared, which is equal to 4 minus 4x plus x squared. I did that because, you know, that little math formula. And then I ended up subtracting x from both sides. And so 0 is equal to x squared minus 5x plus 4. I could factor this equation into x minus 4 and x minus 1 because multiplying these two numbers give me positive 4 and adding them gives me negative 5. Setting both of these equal to 0, I have x equals 4 and x equals 1. However, only one of these is a true solution. If you plug it back in, you see 2 minus 4 will give you negative 2, and the square root of 4 cannot give you negative 2. And so my only true solution is x equals 1. And since I'm finding basically the range of my function, I have to plug it into one of my original functions in terms of x to get my y value. And so I have y equals to 1. And so this is a little rough draft of how the graph will look like with y equals the square root of x and my 2 minus x function, with the range being 0 to 1. And so I'm going to use the shell method using this formula. And so my volume will be equal to my integral from 0 to 1 of 2 pi y times, I have my, we call it my top function minus my bottom function. And so if you're looking this way, that 2 minus x is my top function, and then that square root of x is my bottom function. And so I put out my constants. Oh, also it's in respect to y, so d of y. So taking out my constants, I have 2 pi times my integral from 0 to 1 of 2y minus y squared minus y cubed, because I distributed my y here to all of my terms. And then I have 2 pi, and then integrating this equation right here, I have basically 2y squared over 2, which in that 2 over 2 turns to 1, minus my y to the power of 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 1, so y cubed over 3, and then minus y to the power of 4 over 4 from 0 to 1. And again, that 1 is negligible because it just ends up giving me 1, so I just have to plug in 1 for my y. So I have 2 pi times 1 squared minus all that. And then doing my subtracting, I end up getting 2 pi times 5 over 12, which is equal to 10 pi over 12, which simplifies to 5 pi over 6 units cubed. That's my student video. Thank you for watching.